Day to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang has the day off. He'll be back with us on Monday. Hope everyone is having a good day before Thanksgiving. I know, based on watching the news this morning and being out and about at Trader Joe's for just a few minutes, if you were buying your food for Thanksgiving today, you might as well wear a helmet because it's a full contact sport. Same thing goes with the airport. I guess there's a protest going on right now outside of LAX where they're trying to block people from getting into the airport so they can make their flights. So if you're going to the grocery store, you're going to the airport, you better have that Charles Barkley elbow ready to go because that may be the only way you can break through. So very happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Right now, it is my pleasure to welcome to the program a woman we spent some time talking about yesterday, the woman at the center of the controversy that went down at the Gold's Gym on La Cienega Boulevard in Los Angeles when a transgendered woman entered the women's locker room and lingered for quite a while. And while that individual was lingering, they also made it apparent to all the women in the locker room that they, in fact, had male genitalia. This woman decided, all right, this is not something that's acceptable. And she went to the management of the gym and complained about what she had to endure. And the gym, of course, blamed her because it's 2025. And now she's speaking up about it, not just on social media, but she's showing up to town hall events where California politicians are taking questions from the voters of California, and she's trying to get them on the record as to whether or not they will protect women in women's spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms. Tish Hyman is a songwriter, a singer, a record producer, and she is kind enough to join us right now. Tish, thanks so much for stopping by.
Hi.
Hi there. Thanks so much for stopping by this Wednesday afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. How you doing?
I am good, and I've got to start out by telling you that congratulations for standing up for yourself and finding your voice when something happened in front of you that you knew was wrong, you knew was inappropriate. And I think the gravitational pull for all of us right now is to just try to pretend like it didn't happen, be quiet about it, not get vocal about it, because if you do, you risk societal repercussions where people will try to cancel you. They might cancel your gym membership. They might kick you off social media platforms. But you stuck to your guns because you knew what happened that day shouldn't have happened, and you found your voice, and you're making sure that you're being heard.
Absolutely. It was a terrible, traumatic experience for me. Every time that it happened, because it happened multiple times with multiple different trends. And when I realized that it was something that just was seemingly silenced and, by law, that women all around America are not protected at this very moment, I said, I have to do something. I have to say something. And it just became a part of my life's mission.
It just seems insulting to me that in 2025, the polite position is shut up, don't complain, and deal with it. Because that's what it seems like society was trying to push you into doing.
Yeah. And, in the beginning, I was just trying to figure out what was happening because I was just trying to look for some sort of legal protection. Because for me, I don't really do like all the online internet stuff. So I just was like looking for a legal way to do something. And when I realized that there wasn't, I said, oh, this is wrong. This is crazy. It's insulting. It's disgusting. And it's disrespectful to all women.
Can you describe what happened on that particular day? You mentioned that it happened a number of times, but that particular day was the day that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Can you describe to us what happened that day in the women's locker room?
Well, I had just had an argument with a Lex man, the days before. Like, it was just like so many encounters with him and me trying to get the staff to do something, me talking to women who were frustrated and didn't know what to do, and everybody's scared to say something. And when I got into the gym that day, I was just like, man, I was praying I wouldn't see him because I go to the gym at a different time every day because I'm an entrepreneur, singer. So I just wake up when I wake up and go to the gym. Right now, I'm downstairs in my gym. So, you know, I just was hoping I wouldn't see him. And then I got there, and all I heard was B word, you know, really deep voice. And I just knew it was him. And I was like, he's probably angry because I posted his video on the internet that some lady sent me of me and him arguing. I was like, you know what? I'm just running out, and I'm getting men, and I'm getting help because they don't know what's happening. And it was just the last straw. It was just like I had to get men involved. And the shouting video that went viral was me getting walked out by the police when they told me that my membership, that I had to leave the gym. And I was just panicking because I was thinking none of these girls really know what's happening. I'm watching women walk into the gyms for their workout. I'm watching men walk in, and only few people saw what happened 5 minutes before. So I said, you know what? I'm going to scream it out so that all the women in the gym know what's happening because I'm getting kicked out. I don't think I'll be back, which I had anticipated this would happen over the course of the weeks because I was taking emails and just trying to figure out a way to go to talk to CEOs about it. And it was just a moment that I just wanted to warn everybody. I didn't know it would go viral, but I guess I was warning the whole world at that very moment. But it was out-of-body experience, and I never do things like that in public, but it needed to be done because who was going to warn the girls? There's not a single sign in EOS or Gold anywhere. There's even an all-gender restroom in Gold Beverly Center that was just built. So that goes to show you how little they're thinking about women. So I had to be the one to scream it out.
Did you have an intuition that there was something in particular, besides the fact that this individual had male genitalia and was in a women's locker room, that there was something off about him? And I say that because we now know that this individual was accused credibly of being physically abusive to his then wife in a different state, and then moved to California and assumed her identity, which to me is an indication of severe psychological problems going on in this individual's head. And also the second red flag, I guess, that would pop up to me is a locker room is like a bathroom. I guess you could throw in like the airport and places like that. No one lingers there. You go in, you do your business, you leave. You don't want to hang out in an area like that because it's not meant for you to just sit there and lounge. It sounds like this individual just decided that the women's locker room was going to be the place where he just took a load off and just hung out and socialized for the day.
Honestly, it just, to me, any man that wants to be in the women's locker room has a mental problem and is violently dangerous to me. Because why are you in here if not to sexually assault and harass women? There's no reason for you to be in here. So with him, I just saw him in there, and I was like, why are you in here? You're in full men's clothes. Like, what are you doing? And his response was titled, no empathy. He just didn't care, had no regard for my naked body or any other women in there. And then what really was a red flag was when he said, straight women like to see D word in the locker room. If anything, they're looking at me more than you. And I was like, what? Like, what kind of woman would say anything of the sort? You know, so it showed me where his mind was at. And a lot of them are there. You know, I'm not going to just say it's him. Any man who wants to enter the women's locker room is a bad man because, you know, women don't want you there. And one woman cannot consent at all.
That is so off the charts creepy. This guy is an exhibitionist too. If he's there purposely exposing his private parts to a bunch of women and his attitude is, well, they like seeing it, so what's your problem?
He was crazy, and he's been in there. I think I saved someone's life, to be honest. The way he beat his ex, the way he is, I think I saved someone because what was he doing in there all the time? He said I was stalking him, but I'm like, sir, I go to the gym a different time every day. And you're in the locker room every time. And he also mentioned something saying, I might have had on a towel when she saw me. No, sir, I didn't see you in a towel. That was another girl that you went into the sauna with, and you scared her. And this other women have seen him even more indisposed than I did. You know, he was in there all the time. Any man that's in there is a problem. This is a huge problem. They're not women, and it just needs to be stopped. So I'm here to do all I can to help women of the future.
So he was not only just hanging out in there, he was following women into confined spaces like the sauna fully nude?
Yes. A young woman from South Carolina who just signed up for the gym because, like I told you, I started to try to collect emails to try to see how to raise awareness to the gym staff, because when I realized that they couldn't do anything, I needed to go above their heads. I sent an email to the CEOs 2 weeks before this happened. So it was ignored, by the way. And so, yeah, the girl tells me, she said, I just joined this gym 3 days ago. Nobody told me men were coming in here. I had no idea until I was in the sauna, and he came in there.
Has the gym apologized to you for calling the cops and punishing you for blowing the whistle on this?
No, they've tried to shift responsibility when both companies were responsible. I reported it multiple times to Gold to Gym. They did nothing. They sold it to ES in the middle of all this happening. I then talked to the EOS staff about it and said, you guys should do something about this. I said, you should rent the first floor, make an all-gender restroom that's suitable with a sauna or whatever so that they can stop wanting to go in a women's room. And they literally didn't do anything, and they were the ones who terminated my gym membership. Gold just didn't do anything and were just complacent. And then EOS said, you know what, they told me to refrain from using the gym, and they stopped charging me, and they canceled my membership, but they did not want to give me any proof of the termination.
I've seen interviews with this individual. I think it was Harvey Levin who asked him, would you be comfortable going into a locker room that was for transgendered members of the gym? And he said no, that he had no interest in that the women's locker room is where he belongs and that's where he wants to go.
I mean, what's more misogynistic than that, you know? And that's how a lot of them feel. Whether they pass, whether they snip the bits or not, you're a man. You should not be in women's spaces. If you call yourself any form of a woman, you should have empathy for women. You should understand, respect women. They don't. And I think that what needs to happen is a serious group of law changes and bill changes that need to reflect what's really happening here, which is they're just men who like to wear dresses, and there's nothing wrong with that. They don't need special rights. They don't need protection from anyone. No one's out here killing trans just because they're trans. It doesn't happen now. It's more trans sexually assaulting and harassing women now and pretending to be the bullies and coming into our sports and stealing our rewards and just placing themselves where they don't belong, which is not something that's a new concept for men, some men.
Well, based on the pictures I saw, it looks like he's not even really trying, because sometimes you see someone who's trans and you have to take a second look to figure out if they're a male or female. He looks like the cat that ate the canary. He looks like the guy that just figured out, this is how I can trick the system, this is how I can beat the system, and this is how I can look at naked women all day long.
A lot of them are. I'm sorry to say, there were trans before this period of time where they were just these new trans. They're not the ones that people have in mind when they're thinking about men. And no matter what you have in mind, the truth of the matter is no man can ever be a woman or understand a woman's experience. They should not be in the restrooms with us, no matter how much they think they pass or whatever. Womanhood is not something you can buy your way into. It's not an outfit. It's not a feeling. It's being. And it's just completely wrong to put them in any category with us. And there's nothing wrong with what they want to be, but there's something wrong with making everybody have to change the way they think and shift reality. There's no way to shift it.
So you have brought this issue up with a number of politicians in California. I have seen two videos. One where you asked this question to State Senator Scott Wiener, who is a candidate for Congress in San Francisco, and his answer was essentially, trans women are women, so go pound sand. That's where they belong. And the second video I saw was with Eric Swalwell, where he just answered a question you didn't ask, which is, I will protect women. And you said, no, 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 no. What about protecting women from transgenders going into women's restrooms and locker rooms? And he just flat out refused to answer the question and then kept saying, I'm going to protect women, and tried to move on and shush you.
Yes. It just should be a complicated question to answer. Do we allow biological men in women's locker rooms and bathrooms? Yes or no? The fact that elected officials struggle to answer that tells us everything. And women, we cannot vote for anyone that won't go on record to protect us. Women's spaces exist for safety, privacy, and dignity, especially in places where we are undressed and vulnerable. These men, I've been asking them questions because I want them to answer the question so people can see with their own eyes who are these people that are in power, that they are putting in power. And remember that the power belongs to the people. people are thinking with a gang mentality. All Democrats vote yes if one votes yes. All Republicans vote yes. It's like, guys, you are supposed to be the left and right wing of a plane. A plane cannot fly if it's cut in half. So that means you both must meet together in the middle and make the best decisions for the government, not keep grudges, not have some old school gang war that you're doing. You know? It's just like, what is going on here? And we are not. The civilians of the country are not a part of the game. We have to stop being vote Republican, vote Democrat, and be like, no, vote legislation. Because there are things on the reds, which I call the bloods in gang terminology, and there are things on the blue, the Crips, that concern me. So we need to be looking at legislation. We need younger people voting. I'm here to awareness, not to tell people to vote for. I ask these people the hard questions because they need to get the answers, and I know people are watching, and I want them to see, and I want them to get motivated to look at these people. And whatever they vote at the end of the day, I'm not red or blue. This is a nonpartisan issue, and honestly, I'm going to be independent for the rest of my life because we should all be independent. They are the gangs. We are the civilians. We have to look at all of them and all of their policies and vote for what we believe in on whatever side to get this plane flying. Right now, the plane's cut in half. It's stuck in the middle. It's doing a spin, but it's not going anywhere. You know, it's childish, to be quite honest.
And this is an issue where public opinion is not split. This is like an 80-20 issue. And when you ask these people the questions, they look like robots. They look like they're walking on eggshells as they're answering your question. This shouldn't be a hard question to answer.
Not at all. But what's happening is that they're voting red or blue. They're not voting legislation, right? So when you get a Republican saying to a Democrat, we need to do something about this bill, you get a Democrat saying, well, no, we're not doing anything because of whatever their reason is. They're doing bargaining chips. I'm still very new to the political game, and I'm really spending a lot of time learning because I feel like this happened to me for a reason. I'm not going back to sleep. I feel like this is a part of my new life work. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can and keep my mind independent as far as I can. It just seems like there are things on both sides that concern the others, but people who don't like anything about this sexual thing with the Democrats, they're on the Republican side, but they're not looking at the Republicans, economy plans and things of this nature. So it's like on both sides there are things. We have to use our minds and read and look and figure out what we want for our country. But the truth is there are scary things on the Democrat side and there are scary things on the Republican side, and we need to meet in the middle for the people.
All right.
And they're all voting like gang ballots.
Tish, we're out of time, but thank you so much for stopping by. I'm so happy that you have asserted your voice on this, and I'm happy that you're in the political arena because you have a voice that needs to be heard. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much. And I want to close on, if the goal is inclusivity, then maybe men should look at expanding their own spaces to accommodate all variations and identities of men, rather than redefining or removing women's boundaries. This isn't about politics. It's about protecting women and girls. A simple question deserves a simple answer.
All right. There you go. Have a happy Thanksgiving, Tish. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's the John Phillips Show. All right, if you want to weigh into my interview with Tish, give us a call at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Your call's up next right here on The John Phillips Show. It's The John Phillips Show on this Jimmy Buffett Friday on a Wednesday. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And if you want to listen to us over the holiday break, that's easy to do. All you have to do is subscribe to the podcast edition of the program, and you can enjoy the show whenever and wherever you are. We just spoke with Tish Hyman, who is the woman who complained about transgendered women being inside the women's locker room at her gym, the Gold's Gym on La Cienega Boulevard in Los Angeles. The story is actually worse when you hear it from her than what you read about in the paper, where this individual was hanging out for long periods of time in the women's restroom, fully exposed with his male genitalia. And when he was told that the women don't want to look at it, his response was, yes, they do. They love looking at this. They rather look at me than look at you. And then he would follow them around to confined spaces like the sauna and expose himself to them there. And then when the women would complain, the gym told the women to go to hell. And then Tish had her membership revoked. Who in the world can defend this behavior? I realize that wokeism and political correctness can rot your brain, but do you realize how far gone you have to be to defend this? Yet people are. I don't know what to say. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Let's begin with Kathleen in San Francisco. Kathleen, hello.
Hey, John. Hi, thanks. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for having Tish Hyman on your show. It was great to hear her side of the story because you're right, it's much worse hearing it from her. I saw the videos too. I particularly paid attention to her confrontation, her education attempt with Scott Wiener. I'm from San Francisco. Scott Wiener, in my humble opinion, is a menace. That's not my word. Someone else has called him that. But I so admire this woman's courage, the courage of her convictions. That took guts, Tish. I hope you can hear me. And I also would like to mention, I hope Riley Gaines reaches out to this woman or they connect in some way. She could join Riley Gaines' campaign. That's what I want to say, and I just want to thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tish Hyman, for what you did.
Thank you for the call, Kathleen. I appreciate it. And when you listen to the details, there's a certain element of this that is some form of stalking. I don't know if it qualifies as stalking based on the legal definition, but if you're hanging out in this locker room for large periods of time, day in and day out, and you're exposing yourself to people in situations where it's not necessary, and you're following them around and exposing yourself to them again, it sounds like stalking to me, particularly when you know that these women don't want to see it because they say that to you on a regular basis. It doesn't sound like they were shy about letting their opinions be known. It seems like they were telling everyone they didn't want this to happen, and everyone told them to be quiet. That's the problem here. Let's go back to the phones and welcome Jerry in Glendale. Jerry, hello.
Good afternoon, John. Thanks for taking my call and happy Thanksgiving. I don't know how to put this any other way. You and I are both guys, okay? We have sex in our brains constantly whenever we see a woman that appeals to us. But that does not give us a right to make them uncomfortable. These trans-identifying guys, they are perverts, okay? They just want to ogle women and get their jollies and thrills off of it. And what really astounds me is you hear nothing from the feminist groups or the women's rights groups on this matter. Where are they at? It only goes to show you that they don't give a damn about women except to exploit them for political purposes. And just your thoughts on that.
Well, what would be the reaction if something bad were to happen to one of these women in that locker room? And if you're dealing with an individual, as we are in this case, who has already been convicted of assaulting a woman, who then moved across the country, switched genders, and assumed that person's identity, and then was following women around in a locker room, exposing himself to them when he knew they didn't want to see it, telling them they really did want to see it, and then continuing to follow them around and harass them in the locker room. At some point, something bad is going to happen, whether it is a sexual assault, whether it is a physical confrontation, whether it is something of that nature. We know it's just a matter of time before something happens. And no one was willing to shut it down. No one was willing to step in. No one in a position of authority, not the gym, not the cops, no one, and say, this is totally inappropriate. We are not going to allow this to happen. People are paralyzed by political correctness. You are taught right and wrong from the time that you're young, and you have a moral code. All of us have that to one degree or another. I guess the sociopaths don't. But most people have some degree of the ability to determine right from wrong. And we all know who is in the right and who is in the wrong here. This is not one of these gray areas. This is Hitler versus Bambi. And even though everyone knows that the women are in the right and the guy who is harassing them is in the wrong, the people who had the power to do something about it failed to do it. And now this woman is speaking up. Tish is showing up to these political events and forcing these politicians to go on the record. And I told her that she was brave for doing that. Not because she's saying something that is politically unpopular with the population. What she's saying is what most of us believe. However, the problem is the people who are in control of our institutions are on the opposite side of the fence. Up until Elon buying Twitter, saying what she's saying could have probably gotten her kicked off of social media. Imagine if she was a student at a university and she was trying to get a graduate degree or whatever, and they became aware of what she's doing. They would try to kick her out of that university. Imagine if she works for some Fortune 500 company that makes us all take those classes about sensitivity regarding these issues. You think for one moment the Walt Disney Company wouldn't have something to say about this? Or some company like them, I don't mean to pick on them specifically, but some big company that is very sensitive to allegations of any kind of discrimination. She would risk losing her job. It sounds like she is an independent singer and songwriter, so it's going to be hard to fire her. It's going to be hard to punish her at her place of employment. But you get the idea. She is risking everything that she has to speak out on this. And I firmly believe that had Elon not bought Twitter, this woman would have lost it all. This woman would have been canceled, and she would be an unemployable pariah. But now at least she has a fighting chance. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's still being punished. She can't go back to that gym, and it seems like the management of that gym doesn't seem to care about rectifying the situation and righting a wrong. That's the world that we live in. But just imagine, had the election gone a different way and had Elon not bought Twitter, what kind of hot water this woman would be in. They would ruin her life. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. More of your calls coming up right here on The John Phillips Show. It's The John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222. The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. Joe Crummy joins us. Right now we're taking your calls at 800-222-5222. Let's go to Deanna in Los Angeles. Deanna, hello.
Hi, John. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I didn't hear the whole interview with Tish, but I know that our state legislator has passed civil rights laws. I just looked it up, the UNRU something, that allows anyone to go into a women's room to, whatever gender that they decide they are. If they say they're women, they can go in, and gyms can't discriminate against them. They have to let them in.
I would imagine if you're the gym, you're put in a horrible place because you know that your clientele believes they're being harassed, credibly so. If people are exposing themselves to you with the opposite genitals and they're chasing you around the locker room, those sorts of things. But I would imagine that had the gym kicked that person out, that person would have lawyered up and they would have been litigious about it, and the gym would have had to spend a fortune to defend themselves in court, and they probably would have lost. So you're right. I mean, original sin here is Sacramento for creating a situation where the victims are treated as if they're the perpetrators and the perpetrators are treated as if they're the victims.
And I think that many of the citizens of this state really don't know what has been done, what has been passed that affects them until it starts affecting them. And this lady, Tish, is being vocal about it, and rightly so, but nothing's going to change in our state until we start electing people who want to protect women.
And ultimately, by the way, this is toxic for the gym's business. Because if you're a woman and you want to exercise and you want to stay in shape, and you know if you walk into that building, you're going to be chased around by a naked man in the locker room, you're just going to stop going. You're going to go someplace else. You're going to find some kind of group exercise class where that doesn't happen, and you're going to be in the presence of other people at all times, so you don't have to worry about something bad happening to you. Eventually, people will stop going to that gym because of policies like this.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame them.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Rufus in Torrance. Rufus, hello.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, John. We're at a sad time when our California political bodies are supporting such policies. But there is an easy way to correct this. Drastic measures call for drastic action, and that would be take off the men and women's locker room, period, and recategorize it by the organ. If you have this organ between your legs, you change in that room. If you have this organ, you change in that room. Not man, not woman. They can call themselves what they want, but it's categorized by what's between their legs.
Well, that may be a workaround. Maybe we'll start to see gyms adopting that policy. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Vincent in Mount Shasta. Vincent, hello.
Hello. Decades ago, I went to Nautilus Plus on West Olympic before I went to work. And there was some male exhibitionist who brushed his teeth, combed his hair, trimmed his stash, all in the nude. And it got tiresome. So I put that antiperspirant spray on direct stream and accidentally on purpose got some on his down there. I guess stung the hell out of him because he jumped right back in the shower. You know, that's all it is. Guys shaking his stuff in front of females now. But that broke him of that. When he saw me coming in from the workout area, he got the H out of there quick.
Well, it sounds like if he spent any more time in the shower, he'd develop gills.
Oh, God. He was a real accident. He'd do something like that if he could today in front of women. But they really are. They're just exhibitionists.
I'm starting to get that impression.
Throw it.
All right. Thank you for the call, Sarah. Let's go to Katie in Studio City. Katie, hello.
Hi. I was listening to you in the car, and I thought, I've got to call about this because I don't think it's addressed enough. I think your guest addressed part of it, but there's a reaction, and it's fear about women. If a man appears someplace, suddenly exposes himself, it's a fearful, predatory act. I don't care if somebody's saying, well, I feel like a woman today. There's a fear attached to it that doesn't happen with men. If a woman is at a party or acting crazy and somehow she lifts her dress, doesn't have any underwear on, people are laughing, guys are laughing. They're not feeling any kind of fear. And I think there's a big difference. There's a lot of predatory behavior of guys calling themselves transgender now, and they're not. They're just sexual predators. And for a gym with of that size and reputation not to step up and handle it better, I don't understand it. But I do have a lighter note about it, and that's that as a woman, I appreciate a male genitalia when it's my calling, when I decide when it's going to be, and when I'm going to see it. And I want to point out something. You know, we love beautiful hair. Most everybody just admires whether it's a male or a female. We don't want to see one of them in our salad. So when it's in the wrong place and inappropriate, it is not the same thing. So that's my comment for today.
All right. Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate that. And I've got to say, if you're a fan of male genitalia, all you have to do is you have to hang out on a bike track anytime, and you see them going by in the spandex, and there is nothing that you don't see. If they have a quarter in their pocket, you can tell what year that quarter was made. Let me put it that way. All right, let's go to Klaus in Thousand Oaks. Klaus, hello.
Hey, John, happy Thanksgiving early. I just want to say that this guy's behavior is a prime example of the prominent porn culture that we have, where men think it is sexually arousing or funny to expose themselves to women and girls. It is like what the previous caller said. It is a predatory thing. It's not. It's the exact opposite of what would happen if an adult woman did something like that. And congrats and kudos to Tish for being brave and courageous, and and kudos to Elon Musk, where you can say and should say these things, and you at least have some protection from civil rights groups and the general public. Otherwise, a year or two ago, like you were saying earlier, if Elon hadn't purchased Twitter and if Trump hadn't become president, she would have been politically or career-wise crucified for what she did.
I don't think there's any question about that. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Pete in Vacaville. Pete, you have about 30 seconds. Go.
Hey, how are you doing? Thanks, John. I think it's just a red pill moment for Tish. I see and hear, and I can agree with just most of everything pretty much she's saying, but I see her getting gaslit by Weiner and the gym canceling her membership. She's getting the cancel culture that most conservatives have been facing for years. I think this is her red pill moment, and voting and supporting people like Weiner, she's simply reaping the rewards, because I saw that she made that comment when she had her interview with him, that she supports him and she likes what he's doing. I'm like, well, there you go. You reap what you get.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. We have 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. The Fix California hour is next. Joe Crummy joins us. Don't you go anywhere.